Steve, oh my gosh. I was at a networking event yesterday and I tried to start a conversation with this guy. And I literally said, "What are your personal hobbies?"
Oh no. Did you hold up a clipboard while you asked him?
I basically did. He looked at me like I was interviewing him for a job, and then he just slowly walked away. Wait, is that wrong to ask?
It is a little too robotic for casual chat. Americans usually just ask, "What do you do for fun?" to keep things relaxed.
If you have ever felt that sheer panic of standing next to a stranger and trying to think of something to say without sounding weird, that is exactly what we are fixing today.
By the way, welcome to Steve and Abby English. I am Steve.
And I'm Abby.
And hey, if today's topic has a lot of fast back and forth, grab the free transcript in the description. Reading along while you listen is honestly one of the fastest ways to lock in these phrases.
Seriously, it helps so much.
Small talk is honestly one of the hardest parts of living in a new country. I hear from so many learners who are great at giving presentations at work, but the moment they have to stand by the coffee machine with a coworker, they just freeze up.
Yes, and then you start overthinking every single word. You wonder if you are being too polite or maybe too personal, and you end up just staring at the wall.
Exactly. But small talk does not have to be scary. It is not a test of your grammar. It is just about finding a simple, shared connection to make everyone comfortable in the moment.
And native speakers mess this up all the time too. We ask the wrong questions, or we say awkward things when we are feeling nervous.
It is so true. The goal is just to show the other person that you are friendly. You just need a few natural phrases to get the ball rolling. Once you have a couple of go-to expressions, you will feel way more confident going into these situations.
I wish I had a go-to expression yesterday. I was just sweating in my nice jacket, completely lost.
Do not be hard on yourself. That kind of conversational muscle memory takes time to build up.
Thank you. Anyway, all right, let us get into our first real talk. This one is actually from a total disaster that happened to me last year. So, my friend Sarah was throwing this massive housewarming party last month in her new apartment. I was actually debating if I should even go because I was feeling really tired. But I finally decided to put on some decent clothes and head over.
Good for you for pushing through. It is always hard to leave the house when you are tired.
It really is. I got there around 8 at night, and the living room was already way too crowded with people I did not know. People were talking so loudly, and I was just trying to find a safe spot.
Oh man, I hate walking into a packed room like that.
Me too. So I did what I always do when I am uncomfortable at a party. I immediately walked into the kitchen to hide by the food. I was just standing there, trying to look busy by slowly pouring a glass of water when this guy walked in.
Classic party survival move. The kitchen island is always a safe zone.
Right? I was feeling pretty secure. But then Sarah came into the kitchen, grabbed her drink, and told us we should mingle while she went to find more ice. And then she just left. So suddenly, I was trapped alone with this complete stranger.
Oh no, that is the worst feeling. You are just cornered by the fridge with nowhere to run, and now there is pressure to talk.
Exactly. It was so painfully quiet. We were just awkwardly listening to the music playing in the other room. I knew I had to say something to break the ice, so I looked down at the snack table to find some inspiration.
The snack table is usually a safe bet. Food is a great neutral topic.
You would think so. Well, there was this really weird-looking vegan cheese ball sitting on a fancy wooden plate. I am not kidding. It looked exactly like a damp gray rock. So I picked up a cracker, pointed at the cheese, and joked about how scary it looked.
Okay, that is pretty funny. Did he laugh at your joke?
Not at all. He just looked at me with zero emotion and said, "I actually brought that. It is my favorite family recipe." Steve! My heart dropped to my stomach. I wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole.
Oh my gosh! Wait, I did the exact same thing last Tuesday. I insulted a weird, ugly jacket at a coffee shop, and it turned out the guy sitting next to me designed it. It is a total disaster. What did you do?
I completely panicked. I just completely blanked out. I could not think of a single word to save my life. And this is my native language. My brain was totally empty. I just stood there with the cracker in my hand.
Wow. Pure, painful silence.
Pure silence. I slowly put the cracker down on a napkin, and I just stared closely at a magnet on the refrigerator for what felt like 10 entire years. Finally, he cleared his throat and just walked out of the kitchen.
That is brutal. I do not blame you at all for wanting to disappear.
It really was. I ended up hiding in the bathroom for a few minutes just to collect myself and breathe. I actually left the party 20 minutes later because I could not risk making eye contact with him again by the couch. I was just way too embarrassed. But it was definitely a memorable learning experience.
Hold on. Before we go further, you just used some really great words there. Let us get into our real talk breakdown. Welcome to our first breakdown. The first word you used in your story was mingle. Sarah told you to mingle with the guy in the kitchen.
Yes, mingle is such a great high-frequency everyday word. It simply means to walk around a party or social event and chat casually with several different people. It has a very light social energy. It feels much lighter than saying something robotic like, "You need to initiate conversations with multiple strangers."
Exactly. Mingle sounds fun and relaxed. It takes the pressure off the situation. For example, you might tell your friend, "I am going to grab a quick drink and then go mingle for a bit."
Good one! Another everyday example could be, "We should probably mingle instead of just standing in the corner together all night."
Next up is a classic, essential phrase. You said you needed to break the ice in that quiet kitchen.
Yes, to break the ice means to do or say something that makes people feel more comfortable in a very quiet, tense, or awkward situation. I love the mental picture here. Think of the awkward silence like thick, hard ice. You have to actively break it so the conversation can flow easily like water.
That is a perfect way to explain the feeling. We use this all the time at work and in social settings. It sounds so much more human and relatable than saying, "I want to establish a friendly rapport." For example, at the start of the long meeting, the manager told a funny story just to break the ice.
Or for a more personal situation, you could say, "I tried to break the ice with a silly joke, but nobody laughed."
We have definitely all been there. It might feel challenging at first to jump into a conversation, but having awkward moments is completely normal. The last phrase we need to look at is blank out. You said you completely blanked out after the cheese comment.
This is probably my favorite phrase to use when I mess up. When you blank out, it means your mind suddenly goes completely empty. You forget what you were going to say entirely, or you just cannot think of any words at all.
It happens to absolutely everyone, even native speakers. So do not be hard on yourself if you forget your vocabulary in the moment. Using blank out sounds way more natural than saying, "I temporarily lost my memory." You could say, "I was introducing my new coworker, but I completely blanked out and forgot her name."
That is the absolute worst feeling. Another example is, "I studied so hard for the driving test, but I blanked out on the very first question." It just perfectly describes that sudden feeling of panic and emptiness.
Absolutely. It is a very forgiving phrase. Okay, now that we have got those words down, let us look at a totally different experience in real talk too. So, I have been actively trying to meet new people recently, completely outside of my usual work bubble. A couple of weeks ago, I finally decided to bite the bullet and join a local weekend running club at the city park. I was honestly a little nervous because I had never run with a large group before.
That actually takes a ton of courage. It is always so intimidating to show up alone and try to fit into an already established group of friends.
It really is. I decided to get to the park about 15 minutes early so I could maybe chat with some of the new members before the actual run started. I figured it would be way less stressful than trying to talk while gasping for air on the trail.
That is a very smart strategy. Talking while running is basically impossible for me anyway.
Right? I totally agree. But when I got there was only one other guy waiting by the trail entrance. He looked just as awkward and nervous as I felt. He was just silently stretching his legs and checking his phone over and over again.
Oh, I know that look. The classic pretending to be busy on your phone just so you do not have to make eye contact with anyone move.
Exactly. I knew I had to make a move, but I definitely did not want to ask him anything too personal or intense right away. It was a really sticky, hot morning, so I decided to bring up the crazy humidity to get things started.
The weather is honestly the ultimate universal small talk topic. You can never go wrong because absolutely everyone loves to complain about the heat.
It works every single time. I just casually walked over and said, "Man, it feels like we are literally swimming through the air today." He immediately put his phone away, laughed, and totally agreed with me. We talked about the miserable weather for a minute or two.
Nice! That is such a smooth, easy way to open a conversation without being weird.
Yeah, it felt very natural and low pressure. Then, since we were already casually chatting, I decided to point to my old, dirty running sneakers. I told him I probably needed to buy new ones soon because the bottoms were completely worn out.
I love that transition. You smoothly shifted from the environment to something slightly more personal. But it was still a super casual, safe topic. How did he react to that?
It was great. It turned out he actually worked at a local sporting goods store down the street. He gave me a ton of helpful advice on different shoe brands and which ones are best for running on hard pavement. We instantly hit it off.
That is so lucky! You found the perfect person to complain about shoes with.
I know. We ended up happily talking the entire time we were waiting for the rest of the club to show up. We complained about the heat, talked about old knee injuries, and just kept the conversation flowing naturally.
See, that is the perfect small talk success story. It shows how simple topics really work.
It really felt like a huge win. By the time the run actually started, I felt so much more relaxed because I already had a buddy in the group. We even grabbed an iced coffee together after we finished the route.
That is such a completely different vibe from my terrible disaster in the kitchen. But wait, I heard you drop some interesting phrases there. Time for our second Real Talk breakdown. Welcome to our second breakdown. Steve, your running club story was full of amazing phrases. The first one that caught my ear was when you said you decided to bite the bullet and join the group.
Yes, to bite the bullet is a fantastic everyday idiom. It means to finally force yourself to do something difficult or scary that you have been delaying for a while. It sounds way more natural than saying a stiff phrase like, "I forced myself to initiate an uncomfortable task."
Exactly. It paints a simple picture of being brave. For example, my car was making a weird noise for weeks, so I finally decided to bite the bullet and take it to the mechanic to get fixed.
That is a perfect everyday example. Another way to use it is, I was terrified of public speaking, but I bit the bullet and signed up for the presentation class at work.
The next phrase you used was bring up. You said you decided to bring up the crazy humidity to start the conversation with a stranger.
Right. To bring up simply means to introduce a new topic into a conversation. It is much softer and friendlier than saying, I initiated a discussion about the weather. We use this phrasal verb absolutely all the time in both casual chat and at work.
We really do. For example, you might say, I did not want to ruin the nice dinner, so I decided not to bring up the messy house.
That is a great one. Or in a work setting, you could tell your coworker, I am going to bring up the new schedule during our team meeting tomorrow morning.
All right, the final phrase is such a positive one. You said that you and the shoe guy instantly hit it off.
Yes, to hit it off means to immediately like someone and become friendly with them the very first time you meet. It is a great way to describe a fast, easy connection. It feels so much warmer than saying, we established a mutually positive relationship.
It really does. You can use it for new friends or dating. For example, my cousin went on a blind date last night, and she said they completely hit it off.
Another good example is, I was nervous about meeting my new roommate, but we hit it off right away over our shared love of coffee. Now, it might feel challenging at first to use these colorful idioms in real time, but that is completely normal. Muscle memory takes time to build, and it is totally okay if it feels slightly strange to say them at the beginning.
Absolutely. We have covered some great expressions today, but there are a few sneaky traps you need to watch out for. Let us jump into common mistakes and make sure you do not get them wrong.
Now, let us talk about where people usually get this wrong. These phrases are common, but the grammar can be tricky.
Exactly. Our first trap happens with our party survival phrase. So many learners say, I tried to break the ices with a joke.
I hear that a lot. The fix is to keep ice singular. You just say, I tried to break the ice with a joke.
Right. Even if there are a lot of awkward people, the ice is just an uncountable idea of silence. You never add an S.
Perfect explanation. The second mistake is with forgetting your words. People will say, the question was hard, so my mind blanked out.
That is close, but native speakers do not say it that way. The fix is to apply the action to yourself. You should say, I completely blanked out.
Exactly. You are the one doing the blanking, not your mind. It is a fixed expression we use for ourselves.
Good point. Our last trap is about making friends. Learners often drop a word and say, we met at the park and instantly hit off.
The trap here is forgetting the pronoun in the middle. The correct fix is to say, we instantly hit it off.
Yes, you always need that little it in the middle to make the phrase complete.
Let us do a rapid review to lock these in. Do not say break the ices. Say break the ice.
Do not say my mind blanked out. Say I blanked out.
And do not say we hit off. Say we hit it off.
And that is how you avoid those traps. But how does real spoken English compare to what you learned in school? Let us check out textbook versus real life.
Welcome to Textbook versus Real Life. Our first textbook sentence is, I do not know any people at this party.
In real life, we usually say, I do not know anyone here. Anyone is just faster and sounds more relaxed than saying any people.
That makes sense. Our second textbook sentence is, the weather is very hot and uncomfortable today.
In real life, we just say, it is so sticky out today. Sticky is our favorite casual word to describe annoying summer humidity.
Good one. Our third textbook sentence is, I want to establish a conversation with him.
In real life, we say, I want to strike up a conversation. Using strike up just feels much more natural and friendly than establish.
Number 4. The textbook sentence is, my shoes are very old and damaged.
In real life, we say, "My shoes are completely worn out." Worn out is the most common phrasal verb we use for old clothes.
And our fifth textbook sentence is, I experienced fear when I spoke to him.
In real life, we say, "I was so nervous to talk to him." Native speakers use nervous for almost every scary, everyday situation.
Textbook English is 100% understandable, so do not be hard on yourself if you use it.
All right, you have heard us talk enough. It is time to build that muscle memory. Let us jump right into the shadowing practice.
Before we start, here is a quick pro tip. Hit the pause button after you hear each sentence and repeat it out loud at your own pace.
Our first sentence is about doing something difficult. Use this when you finally make a tough decision. Here we go.
I decided to bite the bullet.
I decided to bite the bullet.
Moving on to the second one. This is perfect for describing a great first meeting with a new person. Listen and repeat. We instantly hit it off.
We instantly hit it off.
And our final expression is for when you completely forget what you wanted to say. Here we go. I completely blanked out.
I completely blanked out.
Great job today. Let us wrap things up with some final thoughts.
To sum everything up today, remember that small talk is just about being friendly, not being perfect with your grammar. Finding a simple shared topic makes everyone feel comfortable.
We know learning a language takes time, and some days can feel really slow. But every single time you show up in practice, you are moving forward. So stay consistent, stay curious, and trust the process.
If this episode helped you today, please hit the like button, because it only takes 2 seconds and genuinely helps the channel reach more learners, just like you. Also, be sure to subscribe, because we have new episodes coming out every week.
For our question today, what is your favorite safe topic to bring up with a stranger? Let us know your answer or any English struggles you have in the comments below.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Click on the next video on your screen to keep leveling up your everyday English.